All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating case study of a 70-year-old couple facing a critical impasse. Now, this is a couple who truly love each other. In fact, traveling together is their absolute greatest shared pleasure. Both are in good health, but as they look ahead at the next 10 years, they've hit a massive brick wall between their love for one another and their wildly different visions for what this decade should actually look like. To make sense of this standoff, here's our roadmap. First, we'll look at the surface conflict. Then, we'll uncover the root problem beneath it all. After that, we'll explore 4 models for compromise, resolve the money and logistics, and finally, lay out a recommended path forward.
So, part 1, the surface conflict. Wants versus needs. First up, we've got to look at the immediate logistical clash that's practically tearing this marriage apart. It's a classic battle, a deep desire for roots versus an overwhelming urge to explore. And it brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between the two partners. On one side, we have the wife's need to stay anchored. She wants the security of their South Florida home, which they own outright. She wants to keep working because she genuinely fears they don't have enough money to survive until death. And because of her deep attachment to their house, she refuses to leave it for more than 2 weeks at a time. On the other side, we have the husband. He's kept working for the last 3 years purely because she is, but he finds his job incredibly dull. He's been bored by Florida for 20 years. His existential desperation is pushing him to escape. He dreams of living in different world cities for months at a time, or picking up and moving to North Carolina to be near family. To him, a home is just a box for your memories. You just move the items, and you move the home.
Moving on to part 2, uncovering the root problem. Let's look below the iceberg. Now, to actually solve this, we have to pivot sharply below the surface. Because honestly, the travel itineraries and the real estate squabbles, they're just a disguise. Look at this quote, because it perfectly frames the entire crisis. This is not a travel problem. It is a trust, security, and identity problem dressed up as a logistics disagreement. This hits the nail on the head. It validates the wife's very real, absolute terror of abandonment. She's worried her husband might just globetrot for months and never come back to her. And it totally validates the husband's suffocating feeling of unlived dreams, feeling completely caged by a dull routine. No travel schedule on Earth is going to fix this until those core issues get tackled first. So before any solution can actually stick, both partners have to agree to some fundamental emotional non-negotiables. First off, the husband has got to genuinely accept that his dream of untethered living is just incompatible with his marriage as it stands right now. He needs to acknowledge that his wife's fear of abandonment is real. Surviving another decade means she has to feel actively chosen, not just tolerated. But on the flip side, the wife has to accept that a husband who is slowly suffocating in a dull routine, he's going to become a worse partner, not a better one. Her financial fears deserve a factual review, not just panic-driven assumptions. And the kicker? Keeping him home through fear or ultimatums is absolutely not the same as keeping him mentally and emotionally present.
All right, part 3, 4 models for compromise, finding that middle ground.
Let's translate this into some practical frameworks. We've got 4 distinct negotiated settlements here. And the key takeaway? In every single one of these solutions, somebody has to compromise. It's non-negotiable. If they go with Home Base Plus, they do shorter, shared trips. That means he gives up long solo travel, and she gives up having him home every single week. If they choose slow travel together, they rent out the Florida place and live together in, say, a Paris apartment or a Lisbon flat for an extended stay. Here, he gives up country hopping solo, and she gives up the house for a bit. Option 3, retirement redesign, means he retires immediately, takes on a huge, self-directed project like writing a memoir, and travels just for research. He drops the untethered fantasy but gains immense purpose. And finally, structured freedom allows the husband to find contractual solo trips of no more than 2 weeks. He trades spontaneity for her absolute peace of mind. Let's zoom in on Solution A, the Home Base Plus model, because honestly, it carries the lowest risk to the marriage. In this setup, Florida stays the undisputed permanent home. The wife gets her security, check. The husband retires from his dull job entirely. Then, they redesign their lives to take 4 to 6 completely shared trips a year, rotating through Europe, South America, the US, Asia, you name it. And the husband takes on the meaningful, creative role of coordinating all this travel. It's a brilliant setup because it leans directly into their biggest shared pleasure. She gets the adventure of travel, plus the safety of coming home, while he builds an engaged, passionate life between those trips. Which brings us to part 4, resolving money and logistics, or as I like to call it, removing the excuses. Now, you know and I know that emotional breakthroughs and great travel plans completely fall apart without logistical fixes. Let's talk money.
The wife believes they don't have enough cash to survive until death. Well, she's either factually right, meaning she is wise to keep working, or it is entirely anxiety-based, which means no amount of reassurance from her husband is ever going to be enough. The fix here? Super practical. Hire a fee-only fiduciary financial advisor. Not a commission broker, a fiduciary. Get an independent retirement projection, put the hard numbers on the table in front of both of them, and let the math, not the marriage, settle the argument. Facts have to dictate the future here, not fear. Okay, but what about the cat? Seriously, you might be wondering, how in the world are a 70-year-old man's grand worldly dreams being thwarted by a feline? Well, it turns out the husband brought a cat into the house, and it's actually become this massive source of genuine guilt and frustration. It's acting as a literal physical roadblock, preventing them from leaving the house together.
The brilliantly simple fix for this is to identify 1 or 2 trusted paid pet sitters right now. They need to build that relationship immediately, before a single flight is even booked. The cat just becomes another logistical item to manage. You literally cannot let a pet be the reason a marriage of 2 people who deeply love each other fails to flourish. Finally, part 5, the recommended path forward, the action plan. Now that the emotional and logistical roadblocks are cleared out, we can assemble the final roadmap for their next decade. By following these exact 6 steps in order, this couple can completely transform their resentment. Step 1. Have an honest, mediated conversation about their fears, not logistics. Step 2. Hire that fiduciary advisor to settle the money question with hard facts. Step 3. The husband retires from his dull job immediately to stop that daily suffocation. Step 4. Adopt the Homebase Plus model as their baseline, maybe mixing in 1 extended slow travel trip a year for deeper immersion. Step 5. Lock down that pet-sitting relationship. And Step 6. Revisit this plan every single year. Because let's be real, what they need at age 70 is not going to be exactly the same as what they need at age 75. Ultimately, this all leads to a really beautiful realization. Their greatest asset is that they genuinely love each other, and traveling together is their absolute joy. The risk here was never incompatibility. The risk was unspoken fear, slowly eroding something wonderful. As this realization beautifully reminds us, the husband does not need to choose between his wife and the world. The wife is the world. The real work is just helping him believe it and helping her trust that he does. So what can we all take away from this explainer? Well, surface arguments, whether they're about money, real estate, or even a cat, they rarely hold the real answer. They are almost always masking deeper needs. So I leave you with this to chew on. How might you uncover and negotiate the deep, unspoken fears hiding behind the logistical disagreements in your own relationships?